wants to talk to Luke Skywalker's ghost in Star Wars Legacy of Vader number 10. So in this issue, Kylo Ren talks about how he can still feel Luke Skywalker's presence in the Force, like Luke is watching him. And so, at Darth Vader's old castle on Mustafar, he tries to contact Luke's ghost, Luke's spirit in the Force. And in doing that, he goes into a meditation egg, kind of like we saw Darth Vader do in The Empire Strikes Back. And he has, let's say, a very vivid physical dream. This is my favorite issue of Legacy of Vader that they've done so far. You know, thus far, this book has kind of been guilty of rehashing previous locations in the Star Wars saga. You know, Kylo Ren on Tatooine, Kylo Ren on Naboo, Kylo Ren on Corellia, etc., etc. And I mean, I did enjoy those stories and those issues. I kind of wish the stories had been longer because there was a lot of meat on the bone there, but this issue really feels like it does some substantial character work as far as Kylo Ren and his relationship with Luke Skywalker. I'm not going to say whether he's successful in contacting Luke's Force ghost, his spirit, whatever you want to call it, but of course we know that Force ghosts do exist in the Star Wars universe, and I will say I was really, really happy with the way this issue turned out and what our author Charles Soule did. And I was equally happy that Luke Ross was the one penciling this story. He continues to be one of my favorite Star Wars artists of all time, really. Great detail, and he captures Adam Driver's likeness really well, too. Pacing has been a big problem for Legacy of Vader overall. And based on how this issue turned out, I kind of wondered if they were going to wrap it up with issue 12 in a couple of months. I did look up the solicitation for issue 12, and that does not appear to be the case, for what that's worth. The cover to issue 12 does indicate, though, that a confrontation of sorts between Kylo Ren and Darth Vader is coming. I don't know what form it's going to take, but I suspected that they might be on a collision course a couple months ago. In Armored, a 13-year-old boy named Andy obtains a mystical suit of armor and has a ghostly companion to guide him through an adventure. Well, in Armored number 6, which comes out today, this teenage boy finds himself standing across from his most confounding scenario yet. A teenage girl with a mystical suit of armor and a ghostly companion. So yeah, in this issue, Andy meets Eva, a 13-year-old girl who is kind of in a similar situation to him. She's got a gold suit of armor and a ghostly mentor/companion. And by the end of the issue, they're united on a quest to unlock a mystery of sorts. The first volume of Armored was one of my favorite comics of 2024, so naturally I was excited to see it come back here. There's a quaint, kind of quirky quality to this book that I think comes down to the unique tandem of our author Michael Schwartz and our artist Ismael Hernandez. Michael Schwartz is great at writing projects for kids and young people, so naturally he's a great fit for a story like this that sort of appeals to the kid in all of us. And you know, I think that Armored is fine if you put it with a more conventional comic book artist. But I think the secret sauce, so to speak, that really makes Armored work as well as it does is the mixture of Schwartz's writing with Hernandez's art. The art isn't specifically old-timey or medieval, but to tell a modern, all-ages story through a lens that kind of evokes that time period is really unique, I think. As we often see with sequels, the world and the scope of Armored is very much expanding as we get into the second volume here. I can't complain about that. I continue to get a big kick out of Sir William, Andy's ghostly companion and a previous wearer of his mystical armor. I like the way he talks. I think it's quaint and funny. don't underscore the value of the relationship and the dynamic between Andy and Sir William here. They're a big part of that secret sauce, too. Armored number 6 is a really nice progression of the story, and the charm is as present as it's ever been. It's available in comic shops today. If it's not there, ask your local comic shop to order it for you, or you can go to cloverpress.us. A hardcover collected edition of the first 5 issues of Armored is also available now, so there's really no better time to jump into the Armored universe. Finally. This is JSA number 13. So this issue kicks off a Justice Society of America Year 1 storyline that's presumably going to show us how all the Justice Society members, the original ones, came together during World War II to face off against Nazi forces. I've been wanting and asking for something like this pretty much since I started doing videos like this, and it ramped up when I read Wesley Dodd's Sandman and Alan Scott the Green Lantern a couple years ago. I just think that era is so ripe for storytelling right now in the DC universe with these characters in particular. Not only that, but in the modern era, it very much behooves us, and would behoove superhero stories in particular, to talk about World War II and the Nazis and what the Nazis did and why the Nazis were bad. There's basically Nazis on the news nowadays, ladies and gentlemen, so we need to be talking about Nazis. And it doesn't have to just be Nazis. I mean, it can be wacky 1940s supervillains as well. I mean, hey, there's one of them in this issue too. This issue in particular is very much a first chapter. It sort of sets all the elements and pieces in place. I confess I may be looking at it through rose-colored glasses a little bit just because I'm so excited for what it could be. But you know, Gavin Guidry, I think is how you pronounce his name, is a really great fit for this story. He's our penciler here. He previously worked on one of the Superman 78 books, and I really liked his work there. So I'm curious to see what he turns in. But yeah, all in all, I'm excited for a Justice Society of America book for the first time since before the New 52, and that was in 2011. Between Guidry's art and Jeff Lemire, who's writing this could be really, really good. And quite frankly, if they just wanted to make the retro stuff the whole series, I'd be fine with that. Star Wars Han Solo Hunt for the Falcon number 3 has the distinction of being the only Star Wars story I've ever read that actually plays more like an episode of Shrinking. You ever see Shrinking? It's actually pretty good. It's the show that Harrison Ford does with Jason Segel on Apple TV. You know, in this issue, you could actually switch Chewbacca out with Jason Segel's character pretty seamlessly, I think. But yeah, as Han Solo and Chewbacca continue their hunt for the lost Millennium Falcon, we get a lot of heart-to-heart talks in this issue, both in the present day and via flashback. Han and Chewbacca, Leia and Chewbacca, etc. But you know, it's not just the heart-to-heart talk scenes that make this kind of feel like a Shrinking episode. It's also the fact that Han Solo looks and feels about as old as I've ever seen him. And I don't necessarily mean that in a derogatory sense. I mean, people age, and Harrison Ford actually aged quite gracefully. But you know, in The Force Awakens, Harrison Ford still had that Clint Eastwood, Liam Neeson, Morgan Freeman type quality where he was still able to maintain his aura despite being much older. You know, he still felt like Han Solo. The Han Solo that we see here kind of feels like Walter Matthau in Grumpy Old Men, both in terms of how he looks and what they have him saying and doing. I mean, it fits with the story that they're telling, so I can't say that it's inappropriate or whatever. I just think that the creators here might have overplayed that hand a little bit. Meanwhile, Chewbacca never ages. In any medium. Like, they could not have been bothered to put a single gray hair on his head in The Force Awakens. It still kind of is weird to me all these years later. History, both recent and otherwise, repeats itself in Batman number 162. So in this issue, what even happens in this issue? I've kind of lost the plot. So in this issue, Batman's various family members, surrogate family members, are hunting and attacking him. I think it's because he had to save the Joker's life a couple issues ago, but honestly, I really have kind of lost track. It's been a while since Batman 161. Yeah, the story here wasn't super strong to begin with, but Batman 161, I think, came out in like August, and of course now it's November. Historically, when Jim Lee works on a comic book, you run the risk of delays. I mean, I'm old enough to remember All-Star Batman and Robin. And you know, in the grand scheme of things, you kind of forgive a lot of that, but at the same time, it can really kill a book's momentum. And that's kind of the case here. I guess that's the price you pay for legendary art sometimes, but you know, in hindsight, that was one of the great things about the original Hush storyline. There were no delays. The book just came out on time for about a year there. As far as the progressive story of Batman Hush 2 is concerned, this story very much has gone the way of Batman the Last Halloween, Jeff Loeb's other comeback story. It's kind of a zombie sequel, i.e. a shadow, a shell of the original story. The art is still gorgeous. I mean, I can't take that away from it, but this Batman Hush 2 story is very much limping toward the finish line. You know, a home invasion, like breaking into the privacy and sanctity of somebody's house or home, is a big deal. Like, bigger than I think a lot of people realize at face value. Oddly enough, that's what I was thinking about coming out of Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees, Rite of Spring, number 4. So let's reset the table a little bit here. So we're in this world of anthropomorphic animals. It's like a cutesy, cozy-ish, storybooky world. And our main character, Sam, is a serial killer who, many years ago, killed Monica's brother. And now Monica, who is a duck, is teamed with Sam, who is a bear, to find her brother's killer. It's kind of like somebody teaming up with OJ to find the real killer, if you take my meaning. Do people still get that joke in 2025? Like, does a good old-fashioned O.J. Simpson joke still work? Anyway, kind of long story short here, in this issue, Monica enters Sam's childhood home, which now has new owners, a young family, under false pretenses to find something. So yeah, you've got this person with somewhat malevolent intentions coming into the home of this young family. And my favorite panel in the issue is the one where Monica sort of crosses the threshold into their home. Patrick Horvath, who is our author and our illustrator here, didn't have to make that into a big moment, but he kinda does here, and it feels like a big moment. It's like the sanctity of their home is violated in that moment. And that violation does indeed lead to consequences. The main story between Sam and Monica in Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees, Rite of Spring, is very much coming along. I'm not sure what Patrick Horvath is doing as he explores the other residents of Woodbrook and kind of dives into their stories. I'm not sure what the end game is there, but it's not hurting anything. All in all, Rite of Spring is turning out to be a nice companion piece to the original Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees story. Incidentally, the preteen in me loves these retro internet graphics that are thrown in at the beginning of each story. It makes me think of Netscape Navigator. Now there's a throwback.